I went, all the way through the Marine City Middle School to Marine City High School, and so I've lived in Marine City, most of my life. Outside of, I went to Marine City High School, played football.
Yep,
of course.
so we'll talk about that a little
we
bit.
had the best announcers ever. I did live out of state for a while after college. I went to Omaha for a year, lived in Omaha, Nebraska, and then Cleveland, Ohio for 4 years, came back and everything. So,
tell us about your mother, your father, your family, your brothers.
Yeah, okay. So, so my mom and dad divorced when they moved back to Michigan, but then my mom remarried to Mike Batchelor.
Yep.
And so that was why we actually moved to Marine City, because of course, Mike lived in Marine City at the time and ran Batchelor Real Estate with his dad and his sister and everything like that. And then I ended up having two younger brothers, Zach and Aaron Batchelor, and we played a lot of wiffle ball growing up, and a lot of front yard and backyard sports with all the neighbor kids and everything. It was it was a really fun childhood. Of course, my parents are still
hanging on Vista Bell.
Yeah, and my dad Fritz is up in Fort Gratiot area.
Okay.
There,
so I think you're the first guy I've had in here that has been a former high school football player from Marine City. So
really,
I am pretty sure.
Oh.
I had a lot of the coaches. The interesting thing is talking about that from the perspective of not just a lineman or whatever other important position there might be, but how about what does it look like from the quarterback position of which you played?
Yeah, well, I think I was really fortunate to be at Marine City at the time that I was. It was a fantastic time for football in Marine City. Coach Bob Siskevich was head coach, and just the assistants at the time, we were loaded with talented coaches, and that was Ron Glodich, who was in control of the offense at the time, so I worked a lot with him. Tony Scarcelli ran the defense at the time, so they both ended up becoming head coaches, and then Letson was on the staff too, who's the head coach now. Bill Nesbitt, of course, was defensive backs coach, and he was one of my favorites. Bill's demeanor and everything was always infectious. And I got to play, you just interviewed Bill Westerhoff the other day. He was I think he coached JV at the time, or freshman football. I can't remember, but so he was one of my coaches. There was just a gauntlet of great coaches at the time, and so I got to see a lot as a quarterback. There was a lot of pressure on us because the program was really building. And so when I was a junior, we ended up having the first undefeated regular season of program history. What year did you graduate? So I graduated in 2001.
Okay.
So my senior season was 2000, so 99 was my junior season.
Okay.
And then the following season, we had a devastating regular season loss to Marysville.
Mm-hmm.
But then played them
Came back in the playoffs.
in Marysville and destroyed them in the district final. So it was, that was very, bittersweet kind of a thing there, But great memories, and it's playing in that program, just going through, from as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Learned a lot.
I would guess there's got to be
life lessons
some life lessons in perseverance.
Oh, yeah.
Preparation.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things that the coaching staff really, honed on was, just with every single practice, they would make sure that we got to the point where we were tired, but forced ourselves to keep going, and they'd get you to the point where, you feel like you don't have any more left, but then they'd show you do, and you kind of learn that by doing that, you build more and more resilience and the ability to have that edge in the fourth quarter of the game when you need it, when the other team's tiring down, you still got it. You still got enough in the bag to try to pull it out. And it's not even that. It was just everything. Watching film, paying the attention to detail that we would have.
Sure.
And that really, I think, Ron Glodich was probably the one that had the most attention to detail as far as in that arena. At least for me,
Right.
Being the quarterback, working with him, every single step that I would take,
Sure.
he would show me, like this step's not far enough. You need to get away from our pulling guard quicker.
Sure.
To clear out that room, and they're just all different, there's things going on in one play that you really don't. If you're just watching a football game, you don't really understand
Right.
how many different things are kind of going on, and what it takes to to really run a successful offense. And so there's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of repetition, and so practices were long and hard, but they paid
And it's
off.
sort of like a chess match, right? I mean, where you're watching
yeah.
film on the opposing defense and trying to get their tendencies, so you're trying to play into that and know where to go and what to do.
Sure.
How often would you call an audible, do you think, if you were saying a percentage?
Well,
Very?
I mean, if I didn't play for Coach Bob and Ron Glodich, I think I probably would have called more. But those guys knew what they were doing. So there was times when I called one and they weren't too happy with it. But it happened probably a lot more in small doses. So it wasn't like I would audible out of a running play to go to a Hail Mary or
Sure.
something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or to throw the ball downfield, which is what a lot of quarterbacks obviously like to
Right.
do, but we weren't really that type of team. We ran
Right.
the wing tee offense,
Correct.
so it was a lot of deception. The running game was really our bread and butter, and so most of my audibles a lot of the time would either be if let's say we're trying to run it off tackle, and I'd be changing it to maybe the other side running off guard, or a sweep to the outside, just kind of reading what the defense is trying to do.
Based upon what you're seeing, what
Yeah.
they're giving you.
Yeah, and understanding, if we have a play called where we're running up the middle and they're stacked in the box, it's probably not going to work well. So sometimes, we'd just kind of run like a fake where we'd have the wing come around and hand it off to them, and that's a good way, if they stack the box to, draw them in. And have that ability to get outside on them. So, that's what most of my audibles were. But, every once in a while I got to audible to a passing play.
Is there anything back in the brain that you remember, a specific one that was like, you knew that if it made it, you were okay going back to the sidelines?
Oh. No, I don't think there's a
Okay.
specific one. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. The interesting thing about that is that, the average fan that watches a game from the sidelines, like you had mentioned, doesn't really understand the methodical, almost like symphony-like game that's going on here. You got a guy we'll go back to your day, Coach Bob, who basically is running the line, correct?
Yep.
So he's the one that's dealing with how they're blocking, where they're blocking.
Yep.
Then you got a Ron at the time, he's the offensive coordinator, who he knows what Bob's guys are doing down in the trenches, but then he's got to make sure his backs are in the right position.
Right. Right.
There was, I'm trying to think, I think it was the Detroit Lions game last year, the one against 49ers. And just picking an example, the running back goes the wrong way, goes to the right side instead of the left, and how that throws everything off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Literally everything.
right, you
Yeah.
got your plays, and you got to know where you're going. So if you got your tailback or your fullback, and they go the wrong way, the whole play goes wrong in a lot of cases.
Oh, almost every case.
Yeah.
If just one mistake almost is, kind of a death knell for that play, it's probably not going to work out.
Right.
And the depth that it really goes to, and I don't think a lot of people understand it, but you gotta, when you think about it, right? So you're watching film on them,
Right.
but they're watching film on you,
right?
So there would be times earlier in the season, when we would pull guards. We pull guards a lot, right? And that was just Probably because we had more of an undersized team compared to a lot of the teams that we played, and so you had to kind of use your quickness and everything
Right.
like that to block, specifically where you need the blocking, right? So we'd pull a guard and have him come out and be a lead blocker on a lot of running plays, and so later in the season, we would, Coach Bob would kind of throw in some plays where we would pull the guard just to fake them out because they've watched enough film on
to
us
know where you're going.
to know when that guard's pulling that we're running
Going
right
this
behind
way.
him. So
Yeah.
we then
the other way.
we'd do that and it would work.
Yeah.
And we'd fake them out and we'd just run right where they're not. And so like it is a chess match, just
Yeah.
like you said earlier. And yeah, the depth to it, it has to get to a point where you just you don't know. You can't. That's where the adjustments really come
Right.
in. I mean, it really is, and I think that's one of the biggest things with coaching. What makes a coach successful at the higher levels, right? Is
Sure.
the ability to make those adjustments. From game to game, and then from quarter to quarter.
Right.
Well,
Well, that's like when you look at the other thing is it's halftime and the fans are all out there getting their popcorn and hot dogs.
yeah,
But it's now time for the team to go in the locker room or in the end zone.
Yep.
Then it's all about the coaches get together for 5 or 10 minutes to talk to each other to say, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
And then they come to a guy like you that says, okay, what are they bringing at you?
Yeah.
What gaps are they hitting?
Yeah, half times were intense. Fortunately, we won a lot of games,
Yeah.
so we were up at halftime a lot. But even still, I mean, even if you're up, you're still making those adjustments.
Right.
I mean, you want to score every time you take the ball down the field.
Right.
So you're always frustrated anytime you got a punt or turn it over or anything like that. But yeah, I remember some half times where there was some guys who were really afraid to get
Right, to go into the
yeah
locker
to go
room.
into the
Yeah.
locker room because they knew they were going to get chewed out and
Right.
so yeah.
Well, and the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize is like you might have a guard that's 6 foot 170, and he's got a guy on the other side of him that's 6'3", 260, and he's got to go up against him.
Yeah,
Or-
Marysville had a heck of a nose tackle when we played them. He was a problem to deal with.
Right.
Yep, and so and then of course when we got into the playoffs, we lost both years when I was quarterback to Orchard Lake St. Mary's,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I can't remember how many players it was, but I feel like they sent like 21 players to D1 schools
Right.
the next year, and we sent 0. So
Right.
it almost felt unfair. But
Yeah.
the fact that we were still even in those games, and then later, some of the following teams ended up beating Orchard Lake and St. Mary's, this is, it's an incredible accomplishment for a
Yeah.
school like Marine City.
So are there things that you take out of that athletics and apply to your daily regimen in business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one is attention to detail, right? Just being able to, look at, okay, well, what's successful, what's not successful, why is that not successful, what can we do, and there's a lot of different
Moving parts. Sure.
right? This costs this much, can we afford that? What's the return on investment?
Sure.
So there's a lot of different, things involved with that. The other is just kind of pushing on through.
Right.
I mean, don't get too distressed or don't worry when times aren't the best or you have a tough situation. Maybe a deal goes south, for whatever reason, which happens,
Right.
every once in a while.
Yep.
But just keep showing up and and keep putting in the time that you need, and like real estate, there's ups and downs,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yep.
Some years are fantastic, people are like, oh, it must be nice to be a realtor right now, Yeah,
It
is.
was a
but
couple of years ago,
but
maybe not so today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And today is so tough because of interest rates and
Right.
lack of inventory on the market and everything like that. But there are things that happen
Right.
when those cycles happen, and right now it's some of the part-time people who are realtors get out of it.
Right.
So then we have kind of less competition. And fortunately for us, Bachelor Realtor has been around since 1953. So, and Mike's been a broker for what, I don't know, I want to say 35 years now or so.
Right.
So we got a lot of experience, and
I would say you're probably one of the few fourth generation of a family
Right.
to sell real estate, right?
yeah. I mean,
Win
especially
Ackett's
around
might
here.
be.
She might
close
be.
to that. I don't know. I think, somebody will let me know. But
Yeah.
4 generations in this
Yeah.
in the same family business is quite, small.
Yeah, and I think I think we might be the oldest independent real estate brokerage in the county,
Yeah. I would think
or
so.
one of them at least.
Sure.
I mean, it's got to be pretty close
Yep.
because a lot of them have kind of sold to
Right.
whatever it is, Keller Williams or
Yep.
EXP,
Yeah.
Real Estate One.
Now, did you go to college?
Yes, went to Oakland University.
Okay.
Yeah, so stayed local, and worked through college, and was able to pay off my student loan debt
There you go.
fairly quickly because of it. That was kind of the goal. But yeah, I graduated with a business administration degree, which has helped me through a lot of different things. Oakland was it's not like a typical
It's
college
somewhat of a
because-
commuter school
Yeah.
to a good degree.
Yeah. They don't have like the dorm life there, like
Like a Michigan State or a Central.
Western Central
Yeah.
or any of those schools.
But it's getting bigger, I do notice. I've been out there a couple times.
Yeah, and we've had. I mean, the basketball teams made the
Yep.
tournament and won a couple games, and so I didn't think they won a playing game when I was graduating, when I was a senior
Yeah.
there, to get into it.
I think the big thing with that college is its proximity to the population of Metro Detroit is so close. I mean, it's in
Yeah.
Rochester Hills, Auburn Hills, so you've got, if you draw a circle of 50 miles, there's a lot of kids commuting.
A lot,
For,
yeah.
for economic reasons, why wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is it's a good location in that aspect. And then later on in life, I ended up living in Lake Orion, right up there for 4 years. So
Okay.
yeah.
So now you get out of college, and what did you do right after college?
Well, at the time it was 2006 when I graduated from Oakland, and there was not a lot of jobs here. So I ended up moving to Omaha, Nebraska. I had a friend who had an open room in a place that he was renting there, and he said, "Hey, you could stay here for free until you find a job," and so I was like, you know what?
There we go.
Sounds like a good opportunity. So I went out there, got a job with Data Transmission Networks.
So
it
you
was,
got in the car, you left Vista Bell. Donna was crying when you left.
Yeah, basically, pretty much. No, I mean, yeah, they understood
Yeah.
where I was at, and I think to a degree they were probably proud of me for making the
Venturing
jump
out
to
on
do
your own.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was it was kind of random.
Well, when you're
Omaha,
young like
Nebraska.
that, why wouldn't you? Is what I say.
Yeah, and
time
looking
for
back,
risk.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
It is good to kind of get out there, be away from everything that you've kind of grown up
Comfort,
around and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, that comfort level,
Yeah.
and just kind of be able to have like a clean slate, and a lot of people I think do that and then come back.
Sure.
And coming back, I don't think it's not like a negative in any
Right.
way. I chose to come back to be closer to a lot of friends and family and everything like that, but also just because I love this area.
Okay.
It is a great, fantastic area with all the the water that we have. It's just the fact that you're close to Detroit, right?
Sure.
And that you can go catch a game, stuff
Yep.
like that. And there's a lot of things in Detroit, but you're far enough away that there's a little space between,
Sure.
and the traffic's not as bad out here, and
Right. So now, when you got in the corporate world, did it take you long to think about coming back, or what was the defining moment of that?
Well, so I left Omaha because I got a job opportunity in Cleveland, Ohio. And so that was when I ended up I was a sales rep for a copier company.
Yep.
And so I traveled a lot, and at the time I loved traveling. It was just something I can get up every day and go into a different place.
Sure.
And
Glamorous for a while, right?
yeah, and it grew old,
Yes.
which I would expect it probably would with most
Yes.
people, I don't know, but yeah, that was, probably why I wanted to get closer to home, eventually, and then inevitably after I had my first daughter, who's 9 now, that was really why I wanted to get out of traveling, because I wanted to be around,
Right.
for
Yeah.
for more than just every other weekend or here and there. But yeah, so I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I was a traveling sales rep for 4 years. I covered Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. I was a year or two where I went all the way down to the southeast region of the U.S. Covered like from Florida to Texas up to Tennessee. So I liked it when it was more just kind of local traveling, where you could drive to Indiana or
3-4 hours in the
somewhere
car
like
ain't too
that.
bad, right?
Yeah. When it started to be the flights, and I'd be gone for 4 or 5 days at a time.
Right.
It's a little more grueling,
Delays and sitting in airports and all that good stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the home life really appealed to me, and at the time, I thought, I'll just I'll look for another job local. But it was right after my daughter was born, and so I'd already been licensed as a real estate agent when I was in college. I think it was 2005 when I was first licensed, so almost 20 years ago now. And I really just did that to kind of help the family business, doing some open houses and stuff like that. And then I didn't really utilize it until then. So after my daughter was born, and I left the job as a traveling sales rep, I got my license renewed, and then started doing it as a full-time job. And I've done it since, so 9 years ago, so 2015.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've seen a little bit up and down in that period of time.
Yeah. When I started, I think for everybody in their first year of real estate, it's pretty slow. You don't got
referrals.
Yeah, referrals. You don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You kind of know. You've gone through everything, but you learn a lot in this business, and it takes a couple years to really
build it up.
Go through enough situations where you know what to do without asking someone. And even still, I still ask, Mike,
all kinds
stuff
of
all the time.
right?
Yeah, right, because he's been doing it for 35 years. He's seen situations that I've never seen. Right. But yeah, it got really good. It was fantastic. COVID was a weird time for real estate because a lot of people were stuck at home and they realized I want a bigger home, or I want to be in the country away from people. And so there was just a lot of movement, a lot of houses sold, and rates were fantastic. Interest rates were fantastic. So we're at a point right now where almost everybody that owns a home either bought or refinanced at around 4%. So so there's a little bit of a stagnancy right now where it's it's not great, but there's still a lot of buyers that are looking still. So.
And it's a good time to sell because you get a good house listed on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if it's a nice clean house and it's updated fairly well, probably selling by Monday. If they're priced right. I just listed one in Marysville for some friends of mine up there. Listed it on a Thursday, and it was pending, but it was only on the market for 24 hours. Because there's not much out there.
It was pending by the weekend. Right. And I think that for like first-time home buyers especially, who are going from renting to owning. There's never a bad time to do that, right? And so there's still a lot of people in the kind of the lower price ranges that are looking. If there was more houses available, they'd be selling, no problem. But those ones are still going pretty fast. It's some of the higher end ones that are taking a little bit longer right now, just because 8% interest rate on $500,000 is a lot more than 8% on 200.
So you do some extracurricular activities after you're done working, which you work 7 days a week pretty much, but you're doing some music. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So my friend Steve and I, Steve Jerzak, we right before COVID, so it was about just a little over 5 years ago, we started playing together, and it was just kind of a passion, and we said we should play, out somewhere sometime, see if we can, play for some people. And so at the time, it was Regatta was the first place that we played at, which is no longer in existence, but we played there a few times, and then COVID hit. And lucky for us, it gave us a lot of time to practice and get better. So during some of those times where we were supposed to be at home, Steve would either be over at my place and we'd be practicing, or I'd be over, at his place practicing. So yeah, things opened up after COVID. We started getting some other gigs playing at places, and we're more of just an acoustic band, but we fit really well for a lot of smaller venues and bars and restaurants and,
Are you
and
playing
things
at a
like
couple
that.
of spots in Marine City a little bit here and there?
Yeah. We just played at AJ's, past weekend. Played up at Active Lounge in Port Huron. We're playing this Friday in Frankenmuth, which is the furthest we've gone for a show. We got some shows coming up in the Plaza in St. Clair. We played one already. So that it's really fun being out there. The outdoor shows are different. You got all the elements that can go into that. So the sun, temperature, the rain, right? And and then you just need you need to put more sound out there, because playing in a little place like Newport Pub in Marine City, how small that is compared to being outside. Just the volume levels need to be a lot higher too. So a lot more to deal with, but yeah, I'm excited about some things we got going this year. The big event that I'm looking forward to, because I've had a hand in kind of trying to put it together and everything with Maritime Days, is we're doing an Acoustics for a Cause event. And so there's going to be 4 acoustic bands, acoustic acts from local acts. So it's going to be us, No Strings Attached, the Barrelmen, Stingray, and Baron the Cretin. And so each of us is going to represent a different cause, like a local youth charity. And so there's Marine City Little League, Cardinal Mooney Arts Program, Mariner Drama, Marine City High School, and Autism Systems. Those are going to be the 4 causes. So it's August 3rd under the festival tent, the beer tent, in Marine City, downtown on the river there. And so it's going to go for 5 hours from 6:30 to 11:30. The 4 bands are going to play rotating sets, so everybody can get to hear all 4. So we'll play for about half an hour or so, and then another one will play for half an hour or so, and we'll cycle through twice, so everybody gets to play 2 sets. And yeah, I just hope, I think it's going to be a really fun night. Hope we get a good turnout. And I hope we raise some good money for those causes, we're doing some Tuesday music in the parks in downtown Marine City to kind of ramp things up for that. It's there's not a lot to do on a Tuesday. So
across from the Mariner Theater and Bachelor Real Estate.
Across from
Right.
Bachelor Realtor office. Yeah. So it was funny how that worked out. But yeah. So we'll be downtown. It's called Drake Park.
Yep.
In Marine City on Tuesdays in July. So I think the Barrelmen are starting us off on July 2nd, and then we're going July 9th. Okay. I think it's 7 to 9 o'clock. But yeah. So very excited for that. Just playing some cool shows that we haven't played. We'll be at some point here. We'll be playing under the water tower at Algonac Harbor Club right next to Porter Call over there. It'll be a fun one. Playing at the North Channel Yacht Club. So some places that never played before, and it should be fun.
Checking out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate Trent Attebury coming in. Now I'm going to try my memory, and we could axe this if I'm wrong, but is Bachelor Real Estate 765-8895?
Yes, it is. I don't know how you remembered that. Wow. Got a vault in there.
There you go, exactly. So if you need some real estate needs, contact Trent. If you want to watch him in the band, you got the information. My phone number, in case you know anybody who wants to be interviewed, is 586-707-5811. And this is number 78 of In the Zone. And we're all set. Have a good